welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and it's so good to see everybody. I hope you all are doing good, and also we're heading into a new year. That's really exciting. It's so good to see everybody. So as you come in, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Also, hit the let me know if you can hear me. Give me a yes in the chat if you can hear me okay. Today we have a great show. I want to talk to you guys about some really interesting stuff. This is the last conversation we'll have before we enter into the new year. So I'm super pumped about that. That's going to be a lot of fun. I think 2024 is going to be as amazing as 2023 was. I don't think that last year was a bad year. I know a lot of people think that the end of the year is a relief, like they're getting away from whatever tragedy they dealt with in 2023. But truth is, every year is a blessing. Time is always a blessing. I hope you agree with me that that these years, when they're gone, they never come back. So I encourage you to maximize your use of that time and all that good stuff. So anyway, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Also, don't forget that tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., our economic and financial consciousness training starts at 10 a.m. If you'd like to join us, we're going to spend 30 days going through a book I have called 30 Days to Black Wealth and Power. It is a workbook that will allow you to develop your financial plan for 2024 and beyond. We will go through each page of this book. And if you'd like to join us, we're going to meet every morning at 10 a.m. for 30 straight days. If you'd like to join us, just go to drboyceelevate.com. That's drboyceelevate.com. So anyway, guys, let's jump into it. So a couple of things were on my mind today. First off, I want to talk about Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is playing for the Denver Broncos. Give me a yes in the chat if you are a football fan on any level, or if you at least know who Russell Wilson is. If you know that Russell, he's married to the singer Sierra, and he's one of my favorites. He's a great quarterback. He's very athletic. He's good at what he does. Well, Russell's having some problems right now, and involved. It's a $37 million problem with the Broncos. Apparently, they did something really interesting that seems to amount to a violation of his labor rights. They told him, they said that if you don't adjust your contract, and I guess there's some sort of $37 million option or guarantee. That's what it is, a guarantee that he gets. They said if you don't get rid of your guarantee, then we are going to put you on the bench. They literally told him, if you don't do what we say, then you will not play. And so Russell goes to the press and he talks about this in the media, and it becomes a big mess. And basically, Denver apparently they appear to have backed off. They're not going to bench him, and the NFL Players Association got involved and basically said that you can't do this. This is a violation of his labor rights, and I completely agree 100%. That it's a big problem for them to do that. They can't do that according to these player agreements and everything. Now, one of the things I can tell you that that I'm seeing here, again, because I'm a finance guy, is I'm seeing the fact that in the NFL, one thing about the NFL that's interesting that I think a lot of people forget is that in the NFL, players really are assets. They view players as assets. And when you have an asset, one thing you have to think about is risk management when it comes to that asset. That's why, for example, a player who's volatile or temperamental or on drugs or crazy is a riskier asset than a player who is balanced, measured, professional, shows up every day. You know, for example, you've got great wide receivers like what's his face to play for the Buccaneers. Oh gosh, it's not Antonio. You know what I'm talking about. AD. Somebody tell me his name. He's a brother that played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But anyway, he was really good. And then he went to play for the Patriots and the Raiders and the Buccaneers. And then he walked off the field in the middle of the game. You know what I'm talking about? Put his name in the chat so I can remember his name, because I cannot remember this brother's name. Anyway, but he's super talented. So you would say, well, why would a super talented wide receiver like that be sitting on the sideline when teams need wide receivers? I mean, Antonio Brown, thank you. I said AB. I kept saying AD at first, but I meant to say AB. Okay, Antonio Brown, thank you very much. I don't know why the name's not in my head. But anyway, Antonio Brown, super talented. If you're a football fan like I am, you know how great he is. He's super fast. He's extraordinary, but nobody wants him, right? Why would nobody want him? Well, it's because of risk. And the way the NFL views athletes is they view them as assets. You know, in the NFL, honestly, some people compare it to slavery. I saw a Suge Knight documentary, and Suge Knight talked about, y'all. I don't know if y'all know this, but there's a really good Suge Knight documentary on I think it's on Hulu or something like that. And Suge Knight actually played in the NFL for a while. And there was a point where Suge actually talks about the NFL and explains that the NFL is kind of this big plantation and that it's a lot like slavery. And Suge is right. Suge is 100% correct. It does have some slavery elements. Now, here's the thing about that slavery, though, is it's not obviously not the same as the slavery that your ancestors went through 200 years ago. Because they weren't getting paid. Like this is more paid slavery. This is more corporate slavery. A corporate slavery, a lot of y'all right now are in corporate slavery. You may not know it, but if you have to get up and go to work every day and you can't quit your job because you feel like you don't have an option, well, that's a type of slavery. If you how many of you, give me a yes or no, how many of you would quit your job tomorrow if you could? Yes or no? Uh, how many of you would, how many of you have to go to work because you got student loan debt that's up to here and you can't pay the debt? Well, yes or no? Give me a yes in the chat. If you're in that category and you feel like you either can't finance your lifestyle or can't pay off your debt without the corporate plantation, then to some extent, you're also in a type of corporate slavery. Debt is, for thousands of years, debt has been used to enslave people. In fact, if you want to see something really entertaining, a really entertaining depiction of capitalism, go watch Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is really fascinating. If you know the story of Willy Wonka, he's like this kind of goofy, magical white guy that makes like really good chocolate. Well, first of all, the movie was really good, excellent choreography, singing, dancing, all that. It was a good musical. Musicals don't always keep my attention. This one did. But one thing that happened in that movie was they got Willy Wonka in debt. Like they tricked him. He signed a document where he owed all this money and he couldn't pay it back. So in order to pay back the debt, he had to go into kind of a form of debtor's prison where they forced him to work and do laundry in this hotel. And he couldn't actually go and pursue his dream, right? He couldn't go pursue his dream of becoming Willy Wonka, the chocolatier. He had to be Willy Wonka, the guy working in the laundromat, even though he had more talent than what was being expressed in his life. So a lot of you are like Willy Wonka. A lot of you didn't learn the game of capitalism. And like as Sister Soldier said, I shared a video by Sister Soldier where she was speaking on the Donahue show, and she talked about how in the educational system they don't teach you how to develop economic institutions that you manage and control or that are going to benefit your community. They only teach you how to be a good slave. So you go deep in debt. When they get you in the debt, they got you, right? That's why, for example, after the pandemic, their biggest problem after the pandemic was they could not get people to go to work. Y'all remember that? Anybody? How many of y'all remember that? Give me a yes or no if you remember that. After the pandemic, they were like, damn, like people are learning what it feels like to be free. We let the dogs out of the cage, so we got to get them back in. So, well, what did they do? Well, I bet you anything that there's somebody who went to Joe Biden, somebody who went to the White House and said, we should not allow people to keep going without paying back their student loans. We need to reopen student loan payments because once we force them to start repaying their student loans, they're going to have to go back to work. They're going to have to go back to work. So what I want you to just understand is just kind of how this game works, right? Everybody in America, my friend Andre C. Hatchett, who is just a great guy, and I just respect him so much. I went on the Breakfast Club, and I wore one of Andre's shirts many years ago, and the shirt had a great slogan on it. It said, "Own or be owned." Own or be owned. And what does that mean to me? Well, what that means to me is that in capitalist America, if you own nothing, then typically someone owns you. Right. If you don't own something, then someone owns you. And most of us, a lot of us start off with someone owning us on some level. But at some point, you have to own something too. Okay. Let me know if you know what I'm saying here. Because so what I really want to get you to consider is the importance of us shifting that culture and really sort of thinking about what it means to play the game at the top as opposed to the bottom. Okay. Now, do me a favor, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. If you're interested in economic consciousness, don't forget that tomorrow, January 1st, for 30 straight days, we're going to do a financial consciousness training. We're going to go through my workbook, 30 Days to Wealth and Power, and we're going to fill it all out. When you get done, you will have a plan. We will help formulate a plan. We're going to go day by day. It takes 30 days to form a new habit. So we're going to meet every single morning, 10 a.m., 7 days a week for 30 straight days. And each day we're going to do a financial lesson, 45 minutes. We're going to fill out this damn journal so you can have a plan. I want you to have a plan going into 2024. I want you to win, because one of the things that people don't understand, and we're going to get back to Russell Wilson in a minute. I just thought this was interesting in terms of sort of looking at how the Broncos are viewing Wilson, viewing him as a financial asset, right? Viewing him from a risk management perspective, where they're saying, look, if you don't get rid of this guarantee, we're going to bench you. Well, why would we bench you when you're a pretty damn good quarterback? I think he's third in the NFL in total touchdown passes, and also he's very good in some other categories. His quarterback rating has slipped a little bit. I think he's like number 19 or something like that, as the last time I saw. But at the same time, though, he's your superstar. You're paying this guy $50-something million a year. Why would you bench him? Well, my perception is that it comes down to the fact that you got this guarantee where you get paid even if you get injured. So because we have to pay you if you get injured, we don't want you to get injured. We're going to go ahead and put you on the bench. So anyway, let's move on. Let's jump past that. So speaking of that, one of the things that came to my mind, though, in terms of thinking about assets and risk management and all that, and Russell Wilson, and also I'm a black man too. I'm a sports fan. Was I also thought about another guy in Colorado. Now y'all know Coach Prime is also in Colorado, and let's just keep it 100. Coach Prime is having a tough time in Colorado. He's having a great time from an entertainment standpoint. He's clearly proving that he can make money for any university he plays for because Coach Prime is a guy who is incredibly good at getting attention. He's extraordinarily good at getting people to watch football games. Colorado was probably the most watched losing team in all of college football. There's no team in all of college football with a record that bad that got watched that many games. And what's really happening now, in my opinion, is that people are starting to wonder, okay, is this guy a great coach, or is he a circus act? Is he just an attention seeker, or is he a person that actually has the substance to back up what he's doing? Well, let me just say this, and some people think you're a hater if you say this. I don't think there's no hating here in any of this. I looked this up. I saw that there were three teams. There were three college. Pay attention now. I want y'all to hear this stat. There was three college football teams that were 1-11 last year. Three. Colorado was one. There were two others. Two out of those three teams are in a bowl game this year. Two out of those three teams are in a bowl game this year. Guess which one is not? Guess which one out of the three did not make a bowl game this year? So when a lot of people say, well, they were 1-11 last year, they're doing so much better this year. That's true. But at the same time, there are people who are legitimately wondering, okay, are you really able to run a team? Because you've never really run a team in a Power 5 conference or at that. Well, again, I don't know if that's a Power 5. I don't know which conferences are the Power 5. I think it's Power 5. It seems like it's a tough conference. But anyway, whatever the ranking is. But he's never run a team at that level. He's run like high school teams, and then he ran the Jackson State team, but he's never run a team at that level. So anyway, with Coach Prime, it's interesting because he's also in Colorado, and I'm really curious to see how those white folks are going to treat him if he's not winning, right? Like if he's just a guy who is flashy and shiny, and maybe rappers will still come to the games, even though they're not a very good team right now. But I think that is leading people to wonder. It makes me wonder how people respond to you as a black man when you are succeeding versus when you're winning games or whatever it is versus when you're not, right? Like I wonder how they're going to respond to his mannerisms. I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up leaving Colorado at some point. I'm really curious to see what happens in terms of the recruits. I wish him the best, but the other thing too that's really interesting is that there are players that want to go play for him under the false assumption that they're playing for a black school, right? They think they're playing for Coach Prime is different from playing for Alabama or playing for, the University of Tennessee. And honestly, it's not if you look at it from a structural institutional standpoint. If you look at who's really the primary beneficiary of those great black athletes going to one white school in Colorado versus another white school in Tennessee, there's no difference. The only difference is that your coach is black, but the coach is, to some extent, for the most part, is an employee. They're not the actual institution, the people that actually design and run the institution. And so I think that those of you that are concerned about black wealth and why black wealth doesn't tend to grow, it's because in many cases we make the mistaken assumption that a black person working for an organization is the same as being a part of a black organization. Do you get what I'm saying? Right? I need you to understand how many organizations there are, how many institutions there are in America that are not controlled by black people, but they're full of black people. Damn near every inner city public school in America is full of black people. But if you go look and you see who's making money off these kids, who's running this institution, who's making the decisions around these kids, it ain't black people. Black people are the commodity. They are the asset. You understand? This goes back to that word asset. We talk about what it means to control an asset. You are an asset for them unless you decide otherwise. right? If you watch The Color Purple, a lot of y'all thought y'all were going to see a black movie when you saw The Color Purple. No, you weren't going to see a black movie. You were going to see an asset, a story by Alice Walker called The Color Purple that has black actors. It's a black story, but the people that are making that money, that are controlling this asset, do not look like you. One of my very good buddies is a guy who was in that show, A Different World, Daryl Bell, who played Ron, who was Dwayne Wayne's best friend. And I asked Daryl one time when I was in LA, I said, why don't y'all just do a remake? Why don't y'all bring, y'all still friends? Everybody's still cool. Y'all have great relationships. Why don't y'all do a remake of A Different World? I know a lot of people that would love to see that. And he said, we can't. He said that we can't do it because that's a Warner Brothers asset. So that show that you think is a black show was never a black show. It was always a white show in blackface. So Colorado is not a black school. It is a white school in blackface. And so to some extent, we got to learn the difference between being the owner versus being the entertainment, running the institution versus being the asset that keeps the institution running, right? There's a difference between running something and being sort of the equipment that makes sure that that thing runs. Or better yet, there's a difference between being the owner and the driver of a car versus being the engine of that car or being a tire on that car. So in many cases, we are trained to be the tire of that car. So anyway, with Russell Wilson and Coach Prime, these guys are both multimillionaires. They're going to do very well. We've always had black celebrities that make lots of money. That's nothing new. But it's interesting to sort of see how they're both having their unique challenges at being assets of another institution as opposed to actually being independent assets in themselves, where they actually control that, the use of that asset. It really takes me back to, speaking of Color Purple, Taraji P. Henson. Did y'all see? I assume y'all saw last week where Taraji P. Henson was complaining about how she wasn't getting paid enough and it's so unfair and it's wrong that people are doing her that way. And then everybody started to look at Oprah, and they felt like Oprah was, exploiting her somehow, which is a really interesting discussion, because one thing that you'll notice is that Oprah, you never heard Oprah give a speech like that. Even though Oprah and Taraji are both famous black women who have acted in movies, Oprah doesn't walk around complaining about how much she gets paid. Or better yet, another example that's kind of in a hybrid is like Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle just did a comedy special with Netflix, and Dave Chappelle is getting paid an insane amount of money from Netflix. And Dave Chappelle is happy with the money that he got. And it's not just because he's a man and he got some sort of male privilege. It's because Netflix had to deal with him as a person that controls an asset. The asset is his brand. And so he said, I'll partner with you if you pay me what I am worth. And they did, and they had to. Because if they didn't pay him what he was worth, he could have walked away. He could have said, I'm going to do a special with Showtime, or I'm going to go over to Hulu, or I'm going to go over to, over to Paramount, right? A lot of these companies would have paid him lots of money. And so when Taraji comes out and she says, I'm not getting paid what I'm worth, I think that what's probably happening is that from a market-based standpoint, you're not worth what you're demanding to get paid. Right. It's just like if you're dating somebody and somebody says, you're not treating me right. A lot of women would want a man like me. Like you should be treating me better because I can have, any woman that I want. Well, the best way to communicate that you can have any woman you want is to go out and get another woman. That's what you do. Or better yet, same thing for ladies. If you keep telling that man that other men desire you, he's not going to believe you unless you show him that other men desire you, unless you really go out and exercise your options, right? So a person who sits in an incubator in a scenario where they are a commodity for some institution that is using them as their asset that they own and control, and they're saying, I'm not getting what I deserve, I question that. I try to say, do you really understand how markets actually work? Because if you were really worth what you think you're worth, someone would be giving that to you. If no one gives that to you, then that's not what you're worth, right? It's like houses. Where do you think home prices come from? When they say home prices are going up, that's not a number they pull out of thin air. They don't say, well, we're gonna put a price on it based on whether the owner is black or white or whatever. No, they look at, then they say, what are people willing to pay for this house? If the house is on the market for 500,000 and somebody comes along and bids 600,000 for that house, then suddenly the value of that home in the documentation goes up to 600,000. It's based on what someone's willing to pay. That's the point that I'm making here. So I think that sometimes when I hear these conversations where people are like, they're not paying me well enough, I get very confused. It makes me it reminds me of the fact that we're not trained at an early age on just the basics of economics and how markets work. And I'm not really seeking to disrespect anybody. I'm seeking to make sure you understand that if you are positioning yourself properly as an owner and a controller of an asset, starting with your own time, your own labor, your own intelligence, your own skill, then you can negotiate with the market to get what you're truly worth. And if you're not getting what you're worth, then you just go sell that asset to somebody else. And if you can't sell it to somebody else, then you probably have a misestimation of what your worth actually is. It's the same as well, even when they talk about dating, when somebody says your expectations are too high, or whatever, it's like nobody really knows if your expectations are too high. I don't, if a woman says I want a man who makes over 200,000 a year, I'm going to say, well, are you able to attract a man that makes over 200,000 a year? Some women can do that. Some women, give me a yes if you're following the logic here. This is a stream of consciousness. I hope it's okay because I'm really just, this is on my mind this morning. But like, if some women can do that. Some women can pull a man making $250,000 a year, and then when that relationship's over, they pull another man making $250,000 a year, and they got a string of relationships of wealthy men, right? Some women can pull that off. Maybe it's because they're really pretty, or they have certain connections, they meet men in certain places, or whatever. Some women can't. Some women, have a harder time doing that, right? So when somebody says that your expectations are unrealistic, they don't really know what your expectations are supposed to be, because everybody's expectations are different based on what kind of market power you have. Like if I was to go into a room full of black boys and say, ain't none of y'all gonna make it to the NBA, that's a ridiculous statement, because if one of those kids is LeBron James, then his version of what's realistic is very different from the kid who's going to grow to be 5'4", right? So everything's really based on what kind of market leverage you have, and based on your understanding of what you are and what you represent as an asset. And I also think that for black people, one thing that you got to do is you really have to save your children from corporate slavery. Like, you really got to protect your kids better. You're not protecting your children. You're committing a violation. Dr. Claude Anderson says it's a direct violation of our children when we send them out into society without anything to negotiate or bargain with, other than the only thing they can sell is their time and their labor. That's all they can sell, right? You're not giving them any significant skill. We don't value education at the level that we should. You're not giving them any assets, so they have nothing to fall back on. They don't have any financial security. A person who has no financial security can't properly negotiate their worth in a society that is built on competition. They can't. A person who has no options, no skill, no nothing, they have no leverage. You have no negotiating power. The only thing you can do is sell yourself to the highest bidder and sell yourself into slavery. And that's why you have so many of our people that get stuck in slavery. Just this week, I got another text. Somebody sent me another link from a grown-ass black man who died in his 50s, and it's a link to a GoFundMe account to pay for his funeral. And I'm sorry, I was very sad. I mean, but there's another part of me that said, this is some pathetic fucking shit. Excuse my French. I'm not going to cuss anymore. It's Sunday. I shouldn't be doing that. But this is pathetic as hell to me. Your children, you mean you got all these damn kids and you didn't leave them nothing? You've been on this earth 50 something years. What, just wasting space, wasting time? You ain't built nothing. You ain't built nothing. You've done stuff. You've done stuff. You had lots of sex. You watched lots of TV. You probably went to work every day for some white man. But what did you at what point is there anything about your death that says that the people you're leaving behind are better off because you were in their life than they would have been without you? Like, I think we got to deal with that just as a cultural value system. Everybody in here, every single one of you, I encourage you, ask yourself this question: are the people that are in my life, are they going to be better off or worse off because I was here? And if the answer is no, then maybe 2024 is an opportunity for you to change that. You have to be intentional about this. Let me know if you follow what I'm saying here. Because here's the deal. I'm gonna give you a little simple magic trick. And by the way, if you go to blackwealthmasterplan.com, we got things like the $5 a day plan. I explained to you literally how you can put your child, if you have a young child or a young grandchild, it's very easy for you to put them in a position where they never have to work for anybody their whole entire life. I kid you not. Where they have so much money in the bank that literally a little job making $40, $50, $80 an hour is not going to be enough to get them to want to get up and go to work every day. I'm not kidding. So go to blackwealthmasterplan.com. That's the plan. Everybody talks about the problem, but don't nobody talk about the plan. We always talk about the problem. Nobody talks about the plan. I don't want to hear about the problem. I've seen the problem. I know the problem. I'm a mathematician. I know what a problem looks like. I got problems. We all got problems. I've seen thousands of problems. But one thing about problems is you don't solve problems without by crying about them. Right. So I don't want to talk about the problem. We don't talk about the problem. I want to talk about the plan. So if you want to know what is Dr. Watkins' plan to elevate any Black person that has a desire to get out of poverty, the plan is at blackwealthmasterplan.com, and that's free. So don't think you have to take any of my classes, buy any of my books. There's not a one nickel you have to give me to go and get the plan. blackwealthmasterplan.com. If you follow that plan, I guarantee you, as a person with a PhD in finance, I guarantee you that your family will be out of poverty. Your children won't have any financial problems as long as they learn how to manage their assets properly. That's going to be on you. That's up to you. Seriously, you raise them to be knuckleheads or they start imitating these rappers, then yeah, they're going to go broke. They're going to go right through the money just like the rappers do. But if they are smart and protective stewards of their assets, go to blackwealthmasterplan.com. That plan will work. But here's another little crazy trick. Did y'all know that if a person, literally, think about this, right? Let's put it in context. Did you know that if a person I mentioned to you all before, the average new car note is like $700 to $1,000 a month, right? The average used car note is over $500 a month. So if you love your kids as much as you love a car, if you love your children as much as you love your car, if you were to invest $300 to $400 a month in the S&P 500, just literally like an S&P 500 index fund, and did that consistently, the S&P 500 has grown by about 8 to 10% a year for the last 50, 60 years. If you did that for just 8 years, and then stopped after 8 years, and let's say you did that for your child's 8, you've done it for their 8 years, you're not going to invest anymore, and you just let the money sit there. Do you know that when your child retires, they'd have $1.8 million? Did y'all know that? They literally, you could be like, I couldn't do much else for you as your parent. I'm sorry I couldn't spend as much time with you as I wanted. Sorry I didn't know all the answers, but this is the one thing I'm giving you, son. This is my gift to you. Literally, by the time they hit retirement, they'd have $1.8 million. But here's the other crazy part. The whole time while the money's growing, they get to play. They're not playing the game below the rim. They're not playing the game as a poor person. They're not playing the game as a person with no leverage. They're not running around desperate, scrapping and begging and hoping the white man gives them an opportunity. Literally, they've got this asset that's growing in the background. They've got this big dragon, this big financial dragon that daddy built or mama built that's protecting them from all of the anxiety that comes with the economic struggle. All of the complaining that Black folks do when we sitting around talking about how broke we are, all of the crazy stuff that happens where somebody gets beat up or people you lose a friend because you loaned them $50 and they didn't pay you back. All of the stress and drama of taking a job where your boss wants to pinch your booty, but you can't quit the job because you really need it. Like all that stuff, all those like desperate, like you think about Cassie dated Diddy because Cassie had no money and Diddy had money. All those little crazy things that happen that relate to money, your child's protected from all that because they've got the big economic dragon that's growing behind them. Like just like in if you watch Game of Thrones, the lady became the most powerful lady in the whole kingdom because she had these dragons, right? Cassili or but I can remember her name. But anyway, go watch Game of Thrones. It's really good. So here's what I want to try to lay out for you, and I hope you can follow this vision. As this money's growing in the background, they may not use the money, but understand they're able to play the game as a rich person, right? And what does that mean? Well, one of the strategies of rich people is what they call buy, borrow, and die. Buy, borrow, and die. So what rich people tend to do is they get a bunch of assets, they buy stuff, and then they let their assets grow. They don't sell it. They just let time pass. And as time passes, it grows just like flowers grow in your garden, just like a baby dog grows, just like your kids grow. And as these assets are growing, they borrow against those assets. They don't sell them, because if they sell them, they're going to have to pay taxes. So they don't want to pay taxes. So what they do is they'll go to the bank and they'll say, I've got this asset. My dad invested this money for me. It's going to be 1.8 million by the time I retire. So I don't want to sell it. But right now it's 300,000 and I'm 25 years old and I need some money. So can I get a loan against this asset? Do you follow what I'm saying? So I go to the bank and the bank says, sure, here's $100,000 in the line of credit that you can use to pay your bills or do whatever you got to do, or money you could use to buy some stock and you can sell options on the stock, right? So the point is, pay attention now. So think about it. Imagine you're 27 years old. Imagine when you were 25, 26 years old, if you can go get, you had 100,000 that you could access, or 200,000 liquid that you can access to do whatever you want. Are you really going to want to get up every day and go to that $50,000 a year job that you hate? Like, no, you're not. You're not going to want to do that. You're not going to have to do that, right? Because a lot of y'all get up and go to work every day because you know that if you don't, you're going to be homeless. And I'm not making fun of you. I'm not making fun of anybody in this conversation. I don't want it to sound arrogant. But if I sound frustrated, it's because I am. I'm frustrated because a lot of what stops us as Black people from doing what we got to do and solving the damn problem. Again, everybody wants to talk about the problem. Nobody wants to talk about the plan. The biggest thing that stops us is a lack of belief in ourselves. Somebody convince you that if you're born Black and poor, you're supposed to be Black and poor. If you're born at the bottom, you're supposed to stay at the bottom. Literally that's what happens. I don't do this. There's people that want to beef with me and stuff that will come out and say it's a myth. Black wealth is a myth. Black income is a myth. Black people ain't got no money, and they want to beef with me. Like there's this one professor that's trying to beef with me or whatever. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to beef with you, man. I have nothing against you. I ain't got time to be. I don't want to fight Black people. I would say I don't want to fight Black people in 2024. But I told y'all that back in 2017. I said, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of all this fighting on the internet. It's ego driven. It's all about clout chasing and getting big platforms and in Instagram views. Man, I ain't got time for that, man. If I'm wrong, then don't listen to me. If you think I'm wrong, then do not listen to me. I'm not begging you to listen. I'm really not. I'm only asking people who can hear me to consider what I'm saying. These answers are there. It's right there in plain sight, right in front of you. The key thing is you got to focus. You got to focus. You got to get all the distractions out of your head. The distractions are, oh, well, you ain't got no money because they racist, or you ain't got no money because Joe Biden didn't get elected, or you ain't got no money because the white man's mean and he's the devil and we the original Jews. And I'm not disagreeing with none of that. You can believe whatever you want with that. But at the end of the day, I just need you to have some wealth and some power, because I'm going to tell you, in this society, money drives everything. Money is the motive. Money moves everything in America. And if you won't come into America and you ain't got no money, America will kick you in your ass repeatedly. It will jack you up. You can be the most righteous, loving, wonderful person on the planet, even hardworking. And America will be like, oh, you ain't got no money? Like America will beat your ass every time. So what I want is, I don't want your children to get beat like field slaves. I want them to be in a position of empowerment. So again, the URL is blackwealthmasterplan.com. If you want to join our class tomorrow, it's drboyceelevate.com. That's where we're doing our 30-day financial consciousness training. So feel free to go to drboyceelevate.com. Also, just a reminder, this podcast is on Spotify and Apple if you want to find it there. So let me finish up the conversation here. So we started off talking about Russell Wilson and Coach Prime and all that stuff. And I want to move past that part, because I don't want it. I know we have a lot of people that really believe in Coach Prime. I'm going to tell you like this. I'm going to be watching next year. I hope that he's able to find a way to win. I'm not sure how great of a coach he is, but I do know he knows how to make money. And I think that that'll be enough for him to get a job somewhere. Somebody wants that money. I think with Russell Wilson, the reason he's having the dispute with the Denver Broncos is because sports is a business. And in a business, you have assets. Athletes are assets. That's what your body belongs to the NFL, and it belongs to Jerry Jones or whatever. And I will tell you that the consequences are pretty big. For those of you that have sons that love football, that want to play football professionally and stuff like that, just be very careful. Brett Favre, who I suspect has some significant brain injuries, he was actually saying that a doctor told him that football at any age is dangerous to the brain. And again, I know there's a lot of football fans out here. I'm one of them. I watched that Georgia that game between Georgia and Florida State. Just in case, so for my football fan friends in here, I want to tell you, I believe Georgia is the number one ranked team in the country. I think that one loss to Alabama shouldn't have took them out of it. And I think Georgia made that point very clearly with that 63-3 win yesterday over Florida State. But that's neither here nor there. So I'm a big fan of football, and I'm never going to stop being a fan of football. At the same time, if you ask me, do I want my son to play football? The answer is no. I would not want my son to play football. Now, the financial consciousness training starts tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, Ken. So if you go to drboyceelevate.com, you'll see the private Zoom link. You can join there and just register. And we're going to start every morning at 10 a.m., 7 days a week, including Sundays, for 30 straight days. It takes 30 days to form a new habit. That's why I picked 30 days. Okay. So my son sustained a head injury that changed his life forever. Yeah. Wow. I'm so sorry to hear that. Sheesh, gosh. Yeah. I and it's a mixed bag. It's like, I love football. I liked it when I'm a big stocky guy. Like, I played football a lot when I was a little kid. I used to want to play for the Dallas Cowboys and all that stuff. And my mother wouldn't let me play. But I had friends in my neighborhood that I played with all the time who were actually football stars. One of them played for the Cincinnati Bengals, and the other would never play pro, but he was actually the best one out of all of us. It was my cousin Kerry. He was short and he was skinny, but he was like two. When you're little, like when kids are 2 years apart, it's a big difference because they grow so much. So like when I was 11, maybe he was 8 or 9, but he would play with the 11 and 12-year-olds. And so we thought he was no good because he was so little and skinny, right? We just kind of would just run him over. But it turned out that we made him a superstar because when he went and played with the other 8 or 9-year-olds, he would just do whatever he wanted, right? Because he wasn't playing against the big kids anymore. So he goes and plays football. This is like a stupid little story from my childhood. I hope it's okay if I digress for a minute. But so Kerry goes and plays in the little Pee Wee League football team. And I kid you not, this dude would score like 7 touchdowns. He'd have like 450 yards and 7 touchdowns every game. And it blew our minds. We were like, whoa, this is crazy. So anyway, I'm a big fan of football. I just think it's dangerous, though. And I really think also selling our kids to sports is not as beneficial community-wise as pushing our kids into institution building, right? Like, I don't want to see just more of our kids becoming great athletes. I want to see them taking those skills that are required to become a great athlete and using that to become a Jerry Jones, right? Maybe you can own the football team. Maybe you can, go into another business. Michael Jordan is a great businessman because he's a great athlete, because it's a mindset. I never met Michael, but I know Larry Miller. Larry Miller is the guy who ran the Jordan brand. Larry spoke at our All Black National Convention, and he's the guy that took Michael Jordan's brand from 300 or 400 million a year to 3 or 4 billion a year. I mean, Larry's a bad dude, and me and Larry are great friends because we're very similar in the way we think. He's very intelligent, very strategic. And by talking to Larry, I get a sense of the kinds of people that Jordan has in his camp that are making these strategic business moves that have led to him being one of the richest people in the entire country. Definitely one of the richest Black people. And I went to Oregon and I sat with Larry for many hours. And I walked through the campus, got to see the big, beautiful Jordan building that they had on the Nike campus. And I was impressed. I'm not gonna lie, I'm very impressed. Now, is Michael Jordan a nice guy? I've heard mixed reviews. I've heard he's I heard he's a little bit of a prick, to be honest with you. But I can tell you, Larry's not. Larry is a really cool dude, and the fact that Michael picked someone like Larry to run his company speaks volumes about his ability to identify talent, and I have a lot of respect for that. Okay, so somebody says your teeth settled in nicely. They look good now. Well, thank you. That got a nice smile. Does it look good? Does it work? Anyway, let me stop. I'm being silly. All right, so let me lay out one more quick point. If you could, please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. Also, if you want to get profit alerts sent to you via text, text the word stock to 89748. If you text stock to 89748, I will send you the $5 a day investing plan. I will send you a training I have called How to Make Money Without Working. That is real. It's very true. It's in our Prime program. A lot of people love it. Also, I will send you a list of AI stocks that I believe in. I think AI is going to be massive. 2024 is going to be a great year for investors, by the way. There's almost every indicator that I'm seeing is saying 2024 is going to be strong like 2023 was. In case you didn't pay attention, 2023 was great for Bitcoin. 2023 was great for the stock market. 2023 was great for the tech stocks. 2023 was a moneymaker, man. If you missed it, get in the game at some point, like don't be scared. We can get you in the game very quickly. It's very easy to do. And again, text stock to 89748, and I'll send you some stuff that'll get you started with $5 in 5 minutes. Okay, so one last thing I want to mention here is we were talking about black wealth earlier, right? And people were saying that black people don't have any money and blah blah blah. And if you've been listening, you kind of know the story, though. You kind of know a little bit about what I'm going to say, which is that that's not true. Black people actually have 1.6 trillion per year in spending power, which exceeds the gross domestic product of most countries. Now, here's the deal. So 1.6 trillion. Here's the problem with that number, though. Black wealth is going down. Black income is going up. Black wealth is going down. The reason black income's going up is because, every year you got inflation, people get better jobs, making more money and all that stuff. Black wealth is going down because we're not keeping that money, right? We're just the best consumers in the world. We consume like drug addicts. Like consumption is, you think about it, a drug addict's going to keep spending even if the cost of the product goes up. And a lot of times I remember I don't know if I saw this in reality or in a dream, but something where they were talking about how nice black people's cars are. I think I was dreaming about that, where I went to a party or something and all the black people had super nice cars. And maybe it's because I was just thinking about economics. I think about stuff like that all the time. So I don't know if it was a dream or reality, but I certainly seen this, right? Where black people, because we're into being stylish and fashionable, we're big about dressing nicely and having a nice car and all this other stuff. And so we are really, really big consumers. And then on top of that, things like student loans are a real big culprit in killing black wealth. So the big white universities that are getting you to come get these college degrees and charging you $250,000 are putting our black college graduates under so much debt that many of them are going to die with a negative net worth. So think about this. You're the leader of the team. You're the talented 10th. You're the ones with the most education, but you're dying with a negative net worth. So how can the bus move forward if the best drivers are actually driving in the other direction? So in terms of black income, if you want to know the economic potential of black people and how much money that we have, let me just name a quick list of some countries that if black people were a country, our GDP would actually exceed the net worth of, let's see, we'd be tied with Australia. We actually are a little bit past, we're right up with South Korea, Mexico, Spain, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia, the Netherlands, Turkey, Switzerland, Poland, Argentina, Sweden, Norway, Belgium, Ireland. Our net worth is higher than Ireland. Israel, Israel's dropping bombs on the Palestinians right now, and we have more money than them. So if we were a country, we could like actually like afford weapons if we wanted to. The United Arab Emirates, these wealthy oil countries, we have more money. Actually, their GDP is about 1/3. The United Arab Emirates, the guys, the sheikhs that come over with the stuff on their heads and all the rich oil money, all these wealthy people, right? We have more money than them. Did y'all hear what I'm saying? Black people actually have more money. We have 3 times more money than they do. We have more. Our income exceeds the GDP of Thailand, Nigeria, Egypt, Austria, Singapore, Bangladesh, Vietnam, Malaysia, South Africa, the Philippines, Denmark, Iran, Pakistan, Hong Kong, Colombia, Romania, Chile, Czech Republic, Finland, Iraq, Portugal, New Zealand, Peru, Qatar, Kazakhstan, Greece, Algeria, Kuwait. Should I keep going? Y'all want to hear some more countries? Here's some other countries where black people have more money than. We're getting to the point where we have almost 10 times more money than all the countries I'm about to mention now. So we have about 10 times more income than the gross domestic product of all the countries I'm going to mention here. Let's keep going. Hungary, Ukraine, Morocco, Ethiopia, Slovakia, Ecuador, Oman, Dominican Republic, Kenya, Angola, Guatemala, Bulgaria, Luxembourg, Uzbekistan, Panama, Tanzania, Sri Lanka, Ghana, Belarus. So with Ghana, their GDP is about $72 billion, right? So we're about, I want to say almost 20, about 18 to 20 times higher in income than the GDP of Ghana. And so if you want to know why the Ghanaian government worked so hard to get African Americans to come over during the year of the return. Y'all remember that, right? Because I went to Ghana. I'm going to tell you, Ghana was a great place, wonderful people. I had a great time there. and they invited us. I went over there with billionaire Mike Roberts. Mike Roberts, I'm actually going to do a joint class with him in the Black Business School. So Mike Roberts, who runs over $1 billion worth of companies, he pulled together a delegation of wealthy Black men. It was all men. And we all went over to Ghana. And so you would say, well, why would they want us to come to Ghana? Well, it's because they know African Americans have money. Like, what you need to understand is that you are the rich kids. You are the ones that everybody looks at and says, damn, they have so much money. How do we get a piece of that? Right. And what's crazy to me is that your wealth will never materialize into what it should be if you consistently think that you're poor. See, I need us to stop being financially anorexic, meaning, like, an anorexic person is really thin, but they think they're fat. Right. So to some extent, we have the opposite of financial anorexia in the sense that we are very wealthy, or we have lots of money. How about this? Maybe we're not as wealthy as we should be, but we have lots of money, but we think we're poor. And the thing about poor, the word poor stands for passing over opportunities repeatedly. A poor person doesn't think they have anything. And if you don't think you have anything, then why would you value what you have? If I don't value what I have, then I'm going to give it away cheaply. I'm going to give it away easily. I'm going to give it away to anybody. If a little girl who does not value her body, well, what's she going to do with her body? Is she going to protect it? Is she going to, make sure that she only opens her womb to men who deserve it? Or is she going to give it away to men just because, he bought her a bag of Cheetos and took her to see a movie, right? And so the point of the matter is to say that, to some extent, your economic self-esteem has been battered down. It's battered down because you don't have as much money as white people. And because white people in America have more money than anybody else on the planet, you have somehow been convinced that you are poor. You become what I refer to as the 7-foot midget. You're 7 feet tall, but you were born in a family of giants. You were born in a family where your brother is 7'6", your sister's 7'8". The white man is 8 feet tall, so you think you're a midget, and you're walking around with a midget mentality. You're stooping down. You're going into play basketball thinking that you're going to be the point guard because you think you're clearly going to be the smallest guy out there, and you're playing small. You're not playing at the height that you have. You're not behaving like the kings and queens and leaders that you are. You're not sort of going through life sort of with a mindset of somebody who says, no, I am somebody. I have something. What I have here is valuable. And here's the crazy part. I'm just talking about your money. See, what you got to understand is that the money you have is the least valuable form of wealth that is in the possession of Black people. The amount of money you have is nothing compared to the amount of talent and creativity you have. Give me a yes if you understand what I'm coming from. If you look at the amount of talent, think about this. There ain't no other community that can produce a Whitney Houston and a Mike Tyson and a Michael Jordan and a Simone Biles. And I could keep going. And a Prince, Michael Jackson. Like, you look at what we produced. The Jay-Z's, like all of the talent we produce just with our creativity. And I haven't even gone back in time. I mean, you could just keep going back in time and look at the James Browns and the Eddie Murphys. And I mean, our talent and our creativity alone is a multi-trillion-dollar asset, right? People are always ready to come and grab what we have. They want what we have. They want your secret sauce. They want the juice from you. Right. And then on top of that, you've got other things I've talked about in my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. If you go to drboycebooks.com, you can get a copy. I hope you'll take a look at the book. I think you're going to like it. But in that book, I talk about the fact that most of your families are multi-million-dollar assets, and you don't even see it. You don't even understand that. And so that asset ends up going to waste because the broken family has cost the Black community probably $10 trillion in potential wealth. So when but if you just talk about the money, don't ever let anybody tell you Black people don't have money. We may not have as much money as we should. We're certainly owed about $14 trillion in reparations. There's no question about that. We should fight for every nickel that we deserve. But one of the things about wealth is that wealth is a mindset and poverty is a mindset. And a person with a poverty mindset, if you could give them all the money in the world, you can give them $1 trillion. But if they have a poverty mindset, they will always find a way to behave like a broke person or to end up broke at some point. So if you want me to keep going down the list, I could do this all day. There's like lots of other countries where we have more money than those countries. So I mentioned Ghana. We have about 18 times more income than the GDP of Ghana. Belarus, Uruguay, Croatia, Lithuania, Costa Rica, Serbia, Slovenia, the Congo, Sudan, Jordan, Tunisia, Libya, Uganda, Bahrain, Cameroon, Bolivia, Paraguay. I could keep going. I mean, I could keep going. There's literally, and there's probably about another 200, 300 countries I have not mentioned. Okay. So what I'm saying to you, and I hope I've convinced you of this. I hope that you'll hear me when I say this. You ain't broke. You don't lack money. What you lack really is strategy. What you lack is organization. What you lack is confidence. What you lack is vision. What you lack is economic culture. So again, I don't want to hear about the problem. I want to know what's the plan. What's the plan? And here's the thing about the plan, is, and again, if you want to know what my plan is, go to blackwealthmasterplan.com. Again, the plan is free. It's easy to implement. If your family implements this, you will have wealth in less than a generation. It's very straightforward, easy to do. I'm not just a guy talking on the internet. I've taught college students finance for a long time. I know what I'm talking about here. I don't know everything, but I know this. But here's the thing. So the thing about the implementation of the plan is that you're really confronting a lot of propaganda, right? There's a lot of propaganda and a lot of distractions that distract us from just the basics of what we have to do, and a lot of propaganda to make you believe that because you're Black, you're nobody, that you have nothing, you have no power. And so in the face of that, what I would argue is going to occur is you're just going to have a majority of people that are just never really going to hear this message. They're never going to get it. They're not going to believe it when you say it to them. Some of them will even get mad. Some people, you'd be amazed how many Negro naysayers I've dealt with who just get mad because I have a solution. I'm like, why would you be mad? I have a plan. Like, you don't have to do this, right? But they get angry because they're so indoctrinated into this false belief that Black people can't do anything for ourselves, that without the help of white people, and I want you to think about how devastating this false belief is, that without the help of white people, we can't accomplish anything. That if white people never get on board, if white people never decide to start being nicer to us, if white people never, change the laws or whatever you're asking white people to do, if they never get on board with Black liberation, then we will never have it. I just want to ask you, what planet are you living on? What drug are you smoking every day? Because I didn't know that they made crystal meth that strong. I didn't know that the fentanyl was that powerful that it could literally make you think that the same people who have made trillions of dollars oppressing you are going to be responsible for liberating you. I just don't know. I'm serious. I need to know, what drug are you on? What planet are you from? What reality are you locked into? Because that is not a reality from any planet I've ever seen. So you're all you got. I mean, can we at least agree on that? That the solution for Black people is going to have to come from Black people. Can we at least agree on that? And because we can't agree on that, then I don't know what else we can agree on, because you have faith in something I don't believe in. Just like you don't believe in my plan, you don't believe that, that a Black family can't invest and build wealth. Well, I don't believe that white people are going to come around and decide they're going to give us as a collective what we need to become whole. I don't think you can ever become empowered through victimhood, at least not if you're Black in this country. Maybe white women can get away with it sometimes, but Black people can't. So what I would say to you is understand that a lot of people are not going to get it. A lot of people are never going to adjust their behavior, but you can do this. You can do this. And if you do it, what's going to happen is that your family net worth within one generation will exceed the average white American in this country. It is very easy for any family, any Black person, any person listening right now. And if you're not Black, just know I don't hate you. I'm not saying you can't listen to this discussion if you're not Black. I talk for Black people. I'm a Black man. That's what I represent first, but I do not hate anybody. I'm not here. So if you're learning from intelligent Black people, congratulations, because we are the smart ones. We're the leaders. We're the talented 10th. We are the creme de la creme up in this bitch. 100%. I fully believe that. So if you're learning from intelligent Black people and you're not Black, then welcome to the family. We just we'll call you Rachel Dolezal or something. You could be one of us if you want to, because you're learning from the smartest, just like you should learn from Jewish people when it comes to certain economic concepts, or you can learn from Arabs or Asian people. Well, this is one thing you can learn from B1 people. B1 people are the wealth masters. Like we're the ones who are going to have the kids and grandkids that are going to own corporations, run $1 trillion companies that are going to be on top of the world. They're not going to be in the poverty struggle because, well, why? Well, because you're making a plan that's a whole generation ahead. You're preparing now to own the future. The future is controlled by the people who prepare for it right now. The present is owned by people who prepare for it in the past. You understand? So you make that plan, you prepare, you move ahead. Don't let anybody talk you out of it. It's going to work out. Now, here's the other thing too. You got to be real careful about things like the educational system. I saw this video with Sister Soldier in it where she was on Donahue with Cornell West, and she made a really good point that I agree 100% with. She said, I was in the gifted, talented programs my whole life. I was always going to these great schools. I got all these degrees, and I still never learned how to build an institution that's going to benefit my community. She said, all I was trained to do was pretty much go work for other people and build their institutions. So I personally think that Black people, when I'm able to raise enough money to do this, first and biggest thing I'm going to advocate for is to reclaim our children, reclaim the minds of our children on a daily basis. That means every morning, every day, I think our children should be learning from people who are in our own community, because we can equip them with what the community needs. The community needs people that are able to think strategically, to build institutions that can go start those businesses. You need your skilled people back. You lost all your carpenters and your HVAC people and your electricians and all the people that actually have tangible skill that they can trade on and make money with and build a community with. You don't have any of that. It's crazy to me. Do you know how many middle class and upper class Black people, and some of y'all are in this room and you could testify to this, who are trying to get like work done on their homes and can't find a Black company that can do it? Really can't, but yet you can always find some people from Mexico or Russia or, where their whole family will come and work on your house and do a damn good job. Seriously, Lord, their whole damn family will come in, be like a whole just line of like 10 people. They all related to each other, all coming in, hammering away, fixing stuff, changing the floors, whatever. I've seen it. This happened in our house, and it made me sad. I'm like, damn, I want to hire a Black company. I can't find one. So the thing about it is that we need to go back to the basics, and we need to decide what our kids need to learn. The public school system does not have an incentive and will never have the incentive to produce the kind of empowered Black person that is going to elevate the Black community. They will never, ever do that. The only thing they will do is they will have your kids spinning their wheels. They will waste their time and then produce a child who is less capable than they were when they walked through the damn door. They will waste time. Why? Well, because it's profitable. They're going to make money the whole time while you sending your child into that building where they ain't learning nothing that they need in order to survive. They hit graduation day. They flick them out into the world. They pass them on. They pass them on to the next one that's going to use them up. Maybe they pass them on to a university that's going to drain their wealth. Maybe they pass them to a corporation so they can become a corporate slave. And that kid is going to be struggling. They're going to be in this situation where they're going to be stressed out all the time, angry all the time, and constantly sort of trying to figure out who to blame. And then even then, they'll become part of the controlled opposition, right? Because you got a whole crop of angry Black people who the Al Sharpton scoops them all together every election and says, it's racism, y'all. Let's all go vote for Joe Biden. So even when you're expressing your anger, even the way you express your anger is regulated carefully. Like angry Black men like me who are angry and say, let's build alternative systems, let's start our own businesses, let's invest for ourselves, let's go on a different plan. I don't fit into that Al Sharpton space, right? Because the Al Sharpton space says you can be angry as long as you're angry within this box. You can have solutions as long as your solutions are constrained by the pre-approved solutions that we've talked about. If your solutions include anything like withholding your vote or voting for another party or building your own institutions, well, that goes outside of the range of pre-approved solutions to the Black problem. And then when the problems never get solved, nobody gets held accountable because our memory is so short. Like we just don't. I don't understand it. It only speaks to me. It really tells me that brainwashing is stronger than I believe that it is. That maybe I just am not subject to it. I because I think so much. I think I look at things, and if it doesn't make sense to me, I just will say that, and I'll have the confidence to kind of go in the direction that makes sense to me. Maybe a lot of people don't have that. So either they don't have the insight or the confidence to do it. But for those of you that do, I'm here to tell you that you're on the right track. Solutions that look stupid are usually they look stupid because for a reason. They look stupid because they don't work. They look stupid because you're sitting there thinking, we did this, we already tried this. We already tried, we got this neighborhood, in Baltimore. All the kids are getting shot. The public schools suck. There's no economic opportunities. The family dysfunction is through the roof. And we keep voting for the same politician every damn election who comes down and gives turkeys away at Thanksgiving and can go to the church and swing and dance with the pastor and who knows the right language, who knows how to capitalize from our anger, but does not actually do anything to get rid of the anger. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? Like that's kind of what it's so fascinating to me. I mean, I'm really intrigued by it because I'm sitting there trying to figure out how do they do this? This is so amazing. This is such a mind fuck. It's crazy to me. And so for those of you that want to break away from that, I think the answers are pretty clear actually. If you just look at just a couple areas, education and economics, if you simply reshape your agenda and your plan when it comes to education and economics, the right kind of education from the right people, the right economic infrastructure that doesn't just include you working for a white man, that's going to solve a lot of your problems. Actually, that'll break you out of your cage quite a bit. That's just what I believe. So anyway, I'm done. I'm going to stop talking because I went on this stream of consciousness, and I hope that these ideas are helpful to you. I enjoyed talking to you, and I appreciate you hanging out with me today. And so again, if you want to join our financial consciousness training, we start tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. You can go to drboyceelevate.com. That's drboyceelevate.com. Also, if you'd like to receive profit alerts or other free information from the Black Business School, just text the word stock to 89748. Text stock to 89748. This podcast is also on Spotify and Apple, so feel free to look there as well. And I hope you guys have a great day. God bless you, and happy